Tim Goldich, talking about the future of gender politics. And Tim, take it away.
Thank you, Glenn. I have a truth to share with you. A truth which is intuitively known but ideologically obscured. It is, I believe, the one gender truth to be placed above all others. The one truth deepest in both quantity and quality of truth. It is the one truth that leads away from destructive battle of the sexes, away from resentment, vengeance, and victim, and toward accountability, compassion, and fairness. It is a truth just at the edge of awareness, and it all begins with love and respect. Hi, I'm Tim Goldich, author of Loving Men, Respecting Women, The Future of Gender Politics. And like so many of us, as is so commonly the case, I grew up respecting and obeying my dad more than my mom, while loving and appreciating my mom more than my dad. As a family, we came to the dinner table hungry. When Mom presented us with our favorites, she received our compliments and our gratitude. Why? Because we came to the table hungry. Mom served us our meals, one of the deepest fundamentals, lying at the very heart of family as well as religious holidays and other social gatherings. When Dad did his giving, he did so in an office somewhere, miles away, where we could neither see nor fully appreciate it. I directly experienced what Mom was giving, but it often seemed as though Dad gave nothing. Does that sound familiar? Isn't growing up loving our mothers and resenting our fathers something of a cultural cliche? Did you know that on Mother's Day, more phone calls are made than on any other day? More than Christmas Day, and far more than on Father's Day. Father's Day, in contrast, is the one day in which we make the largest number of collect calls. If we love Mom and Dad equally, then why do we buy and send half again as many Mother's Day cards as Father's Day cards? It would seem that many of us grow up respecting our fathers, but not necessarily loving. That is to say, empathizing with our fathers. Likewise, many of us grow up loving our mothers, but not necessarily respecting our mothers. At least in part, this disparity in love and respect derives from the roles that we play. It seems clear to me that the husband role of protector-provider lends itself to being respected, while the wife role of lover-nurturer better lends itself to being loved. Now, of course, it doesn't always work this way, but I believe that within the traditional model, at least, it worked this way more often than not. In serving our meals, we could say that Mom was being servile, or we could say that presenting our meals was one of the ways in which Mom placed herself at the very center of our affections. In bringing home the bacon, we could say that Dad was being dominant, or we could say that working long hours to earn his family's love was one of the ways in which Dad was separated from his family's love. I believe that upon close examination, we find that every gender reality has this same dual nature. At home, Mom was as loving and giving, nurturing, and omnipresent as Dad was demanding, rule-enforcing, cranky, and absent. My emotional dependence upon Mom was absolute and obvious. It was she who washed us, fed us, tended to our bruises, taught us right from wrong. Within the mother-child glow, we experienced a world of unconditional love. Yes, of course, it's true that we were financially dependent upon Dad, but what does that mean to a child? Every hour that Dad devoted to earning his family's love left him with one fewer hour in which to be with his family's love. His work persona, so functional at work, was often dysfunctional at home. "I can't understand it," he said to me once. "I communicate so well with my young employees. Why can't I communicate with you?" Well, I'm your son, not your employee, I thought to myself. It's easy to get disgusted with Dad. It would seem that our culture seizes every opportunity to denigrate the doofus Dad. When he's not being abusive, he's just being a fool. But what did our dads know about parenting? Our dads did not grow up playing with dolls, playing house, babysitting. The male culture our dads grew up in did nothing to prepare them for the role of parent. I was born before 1970, which means that I was born at a time when fathers were shut out, when fathers were not even allowed in the delivery room. And that had been true all through history, where women gave birth through the facilitation of midwives. Men were shut out right from the start. I mean, think about that. The anesthesiologist could be there. A man with some practical value could be there. But fathers, husbands, having no practical value in the delivery room, were evidently seen as having no value at all. Only wives and mothers were encouraged to think of their empathy and nurturing as valuable gifts to be shared. Fathers have many such stories to tell. Consider a story that goes something like this. Father is listening to the sounds of his child playing outside. The child slips and falls. Father hears crying sounds running for the front door. Father's heart goes out to his child, but the child runs right past his open arms and into the arms of his mother instead. The child seeks comfort from the parent he loves most. In keeping with the male code, father does his best to keep his pain invisible. But it hurts nonetheless. When the child wakes in the night, it calls for its mother, not its father. It hurts to be loved second best. So, is it any wonder if from that day on, Dad begins to hide behind his newspaper? Is it any wonder if he begins to spend more time at work where he feels functional and less time at home where he feels dysfunctional? Dad did give something. Among other things, my dad gave 40 years of long days that he counted down to retirement from a job that he hated. He might have taken a more enjoyable job that paid less, but that would not have been in keeping with his role as provider. Though he ended up spending more time at work than at home, there on his desk, amid the folders and files and memos, there were pictures of his family. There under a sheet of glass covering his desk was a poem that I had written in the 4th grade. What he did for us. We might have thanked him more and blamed him less for not being there for us. He was over there at work for us. You know, looking back on it, perhaps it was we who were not there for him, to love and support him, to lend an ear to his fears. In some cases, a dark day arrives when such a man comes to see his life in pursuit of respect as having been all for nothing. Yes, he says to himself, I was respected. I may have been obeyed, admired, rewarded with authority, status, and titles, but I was never loved. Out of the blue, I woke up one day to find that I had been served divorce papers. I still love my wife, but she does not love me. And my kids, to the extent they even know me, they don't love me either. In desperation, I turned to my brethren for solace and support, but following some perfunctory remarks, keep your chin up, hang in there, buddy, there was really nothing. Father's days come and go without a card or a call. I was never loved. It was all for nothing. Similarly, a dark day may come when a woman comes to see her life in pursuit of love as having been all for nothing. Yes, she says to herself, I was loved. I may have been adored, protected, financially supported, and showered with gifts, Mother's Day cards, and other signs of affection. But I was never respected. Even my women friends never really took me seriously. I never achieved intellectually or creatively. I took the central place in the emotional lives of our children, but I woke one day to find my children grown and gone away. I was never respected. It was all for nothing. Historically, this love-respect dynamic has lived at the very core of gender polarity. And in our tendency to respect women less than men and love men less than women, it is also the primary basis of legitimate gender complaint. But here's the thing. Our lack of love toward men begets a lack of empathy toward men. And so society's great challenge in all this is to concern itself with the issues afflicting men at a time when society does not care to empathize with the men themselves. Our gender system can be improved. The two sexes can negotiate these changes together under a unified banner without resorting to resentment, vengeance, or victimhood. There's one truth above all others, one truth to be raised above all others, the truth deepest in quantity and quality of truth, the one gender truth that leads us down a golden path away from destructive battle and toward healthy negotiation, mutual understanding, and fairness. So, what is this wondrous truth that can do such wondrous things? It's simply this. It all balances out. I'll say it again. It all balances out. This concludes my first video in a series of videos. This discussion will be picked up in the following video, video number 2, which will be titled It All Balances Out, Part 1. Thank you.